Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. We are in Paris Fashion Week and we're gonna go on a journey to Chanel. Prêt-à-porter, Chanel Spring Summer 2023. We're gonna review the show together right now. But before we do that, subscribe to my channel, will you? Push that join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Get access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. Thank you to all my members and patrons who have already pledged. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream every Saturday and you are all welcome to join the live chats. I'm going to cue them in right after the show. Also, don't forget to follow me on Dacob CC, all spelled together, Instagram account dedicated to my Chanel collection. You get to see a lot of special things there, as well as my Super Dacob backup Instagram account as well. So follow me there for all things Chanel. My hair is a mess. Apologies for that. The video that we're going to watch is taken from the Chanel YouTube channel, which falls under fair use because we're going to be reviewing it. However, I've chosen a music that is copyright free. So that music is not part of the Chanel runway, but we're using it just because we're allowed to use it. So let's watch the show together, and as we watch the show, we're going to comment about it. We're going to give our opinions about it. Also, as we start the show, let me just tell you that it is inspired by last year in Marienbad, which is a 1961/1962 movie by Alain Resnais. Very time-warped movie about recollection, memory fading, parallel lives happening at the same time. It's very abstract. It's a surrealist painting of a movie, and Coco Chanel herself did the costumes for that movie. So it's one of the highest exponents of French cinema as a movie. Coco Chanel did the costumes, and of course, sooner or later, one of Chanel's current fashion designers would have been inspired by the last year at Marienbad, and that was Virginie. So bear that in mind. If you haven't watched the movie, check out the movie. But I also have the book, which is written by Alain Robbe-Grillet, L'année dernière à Marienbad. I have a ciné-roman. This is something you can order on Amazon. You can definitely check out this little booklet. It's also available in English and in French. I'll show it again in big after we're done, but just to let you guys know, I love the movie very much. I have the book that goes with the movie in several languages. Like, if you're gonna do last year in Marienbad as an inspiration for your show, you better do it justice, because I know that movie and that text to a T. So let's see what Virginie delivered. Of course, Kristen Stewart is going to be there. Now, I've cut her out. You see her just a little bit here, but there's a whole little pre-show with her. Bye, girl, bye. All right. Now, you see, the whole room is surrounded by videos of moments of last year in Marienbad. The first look is an actual merch item. Long sleeve t-shirt. Basically, could be Super Dacob merch, but it has some Chanel photos of Coco Chanel and other characters, like models, modern day models as well. I'm like, weird choice to open the show with merch, but I'm kind of loving the idea. I'm like, okay, maybe I want the long sleeve t-shirt, which basically you could make it yourself technically, you know. Anyway, all right. So everything is black and white. We figured that much so far. To note, Agility, thank you for becoming a patron. To note, what is very fascinating from the get-go is that the simplicity of it. It's like Chanel, and this is something to note, is, here we get the bloomers again. A lot of brands are doing bloomers, right? But we're noticing that Chanel is quite disconnected from trends in general. Chanel does Chanel. They do Chanel. And I respect that quite a bit from them, because to be able to just say, you know what, we're not going to run after a certain trends, we're just going to do ourselves, fine. Okay, this is their token model, which we've seen her run the Chanel runway several seasons already. She's the only really healthy looking lady, but for, you know, compared to how skinny this other lady looks like, she's a bit rounder. And they always style her so poorly. It's like Chanel is not made for a more rounded, beautiful body. They never know how to style her right, and yet they could, because there are outfits here that she could style. Polka dots. What can I tell ya? You either love them or you hate them. Polka dots are not very Chanel to me. They're much more Dolce & Gabbana, if I really, of course, polka dots existed way before Dolce & Gabbana, but anyway, to each their own. If you like polka dots, you like polka dots. Loose fits, covered fits, we were talking about this in another show, but really interesting that we have sleeves that actually cover the more delicate parts of a female anatomy, elbows, shoulders, stuff you want to hide after a certain age. Obviously, you're not going to wear underwear underneath the coat. You're going to wear pants or a dress, but the styling is a different story. But there's elegance here. Is it simple? Yes. Too many sequins, as usual, because Virginie always has to put sequins where they don't belong. Oh, here's another token model. They're expanding their tokenism, which I'm all here for it. She's styled better than the one before, though, however. But I'm glad that finally it's not just one healthier looking model, but we have two. And there's going to be a third one as well in the show. So there's progress there. And that's her. For Chanel standards, she is a more curvy model. For my standards, she just looks super healthy. They could have styled her better too, though, Anyway, this little jacket is adorable if you have the body for it. The little cotton knit jacket. The feathers always are very delicate. You can't really sit with this jacket. You can't move with this. Those feathers are going to break off. Like, there's nothing you can really do with that jacket. Here as well. Very girly, very beautiful to kind of how it flows, behind you, but it's a garment that you can't really utilize. Interesting that they're bringing back the lipstick cases, now adorned with a ton of crystals, which is going to make them even more expensive. This jacket is to die for. The white one that we just saw, however, white, it would get dirty super soon. If they made that jacket in black, it would be on my pre-orders. I'm going to ask my sales associate, maybe they do it in black, because it's a classic Chanel cut, but in cotton, super light for summer. And longer, so it could actually fit my anatomy. Now, the dungarees / overalls, I am here for this. Extremely 80s, extremely time warp. Like, it has nothing to do with the movie last year in Marienbad. Absolutely nothing. Delphine, the actress, by the way, no character in the movie has a name. The characters don't have names. They're entities. But Delphine, there she is, and she's just like laying there. Anyway, so some of these pieces are connected to the movie because of the colors. Now, the movie's in black and white, but also Coco Chanel worked with black and white hues for the movie to represent shadows, time, and passing of time. However, no dungarees were used in the movie, or shorts, or these weird cuts, which is something very 80s, and I don't know how Virginie Viard sees the connection between those pieces and the movie. It almost seems in some cases that she uses the movie more as a backdrop scenery to her own vision, and then just from time to time sprinkles in one or two. The bibs are back again. What the heck, Virginie? I don't know why this woman is obsessed with putting bibs on everything. She's been doing it since several seasons now. This is one of my favorite jackets from the show. Oh, Arlene, thank you so much for becoming a member. The longer jacket is cute as well. I just don't like the lapel. The lapel is not very Chanel. The rest is, but I would have preferred a round cut opening. But that little patchworky pastel jacket to die for. This little pink, Tyrian pink moment. Gorgeous. If you have the body and the budget for it. Short and long versions. Beautiful. Very, very, very raspberry. Even more than Tyrian pink. More like a raspberry Chanel pink. Now, the Y2K moment here is definitely the low-cut skirt that shows a bit more belly, but still it covers the knee, which is something very Coco Chanel. These more fluent and flowy Chanel dresses are what is more connected to the actual movie last year at Marienbad. Love this jacket. It actually gives me reversible vibes. Even though I zoomed in on it, the buttons are not on both sides, because it's a tweed on the inside and then kind of like a silk on the outside. Very fast. Unfortunately, too short for me, but I was thinking about that one. So you see feathers everywhere. This is a very last year Marienbad moment. These kind of little capelets, long and short, that cover the shoulders but are sheer, see-through. That is definitely the vibe of the movie. This, however, this little almost Gitan moment is very late 30s. Coco Chanel, one of her last collections before the Second World War began. So there's a reference to a Chanel even before last year in Marienbad, which makes sense because last year Marienbad plays with time. You're supposed to be disoriented. We don't know if it's the past or the future. This collection is giving me that, especially this off-the-shoulder cardigan moment or sweater moment that is kind of like one shoulder's covered, one is not. Typical Chanel black and white striping, but asymmetric. That's a very futuristic Chanel piece. It's not something we've ever seen before. And then we have these like hyper classic pieces that are like taken from the time when Coco was still alive. And then we have sprinkled throughout like little moments that remind us, reminiscent of different decades of Chanel. But all the feathers are very last year Marienbad around the neck. But it's all very coherent. There's one line that goes throughout the entire collection, and it is strangely timeless. You know, look how fascinating this thing is. This tweed with this skirt, with this little bolero jacket moment. And I'm telling you, if you just look at it without giving it the minute of the day, you're not going to see anything you like here. But there's so much to see and to discover if you really start digging through into the shapes, into the cuts. It's so Chanel, but it's so minimal and yet complicated when you look close at it. It's a contrast. It's a contradiction in terms. Very, very fascinating. Very, very fascinating collection. Look at this. This is very futuristic Chanel. Unfortunately, it could also be Dolce & Gabbana, but okay. You know what I mean? It looks a little bit Dolce & Gabbana-esque. Minus the bow. The bow makes it Chanel again. Comelita says, all love most of these pieces. Damn it, Chanel. I love most of these pieces. Damn it, Chanel. When I want to let go, you reel me back in. Yeah, they really know how to reel us back in, don't they? Now, I haven't spoken much about the bags because I'm still very upset with their leathers. You know, we've seen hit the runway for the first time ever a miniature 22 bag. Now it has those chains that tug on the bag, but it also has apparently an internal extra chain to wear it over the shoulder and it hangs low so it doesn't tug on the. So they're kind of changing and shifting the design of it to make it less breakable, but the leather quality is still crappy, so I'm still not buying it. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, just my opinion, not rooted in any truths or facts. Everything's alleged. So there's this kind of, you see, like here, this could be 20s. Such a 20s moment, especially that necklace hanging and dangling. Oh, live it, ferret. This is very reminiscent of Carl. Carl would do these embroidery moments with these kind of camellia flowers on cottons and on silks. 2010, 2011, but those black stripes on white really make it Chanel. And here we go again, one last round. The cape is this. I love that the first lady that comes out, she's like the fan of the movie. So she has like photos of Coco Chanel, but also photos of other models of Chanel. But then she wears the cape like the actress wears in the movie. It's like a fan with merch. I really like this. Polka dots, you know, hit or miss. Either you like them or you don't. What's going on here? The houndstooth moment of all the tweeds is amazing. You know, the lighter colors, and if you really start looking into it, you're like, wait, hold on a minute. It's not just black and white. We got the golds, the pale golds, we got the lime, we got the pink hues, we got the rose hues, we got the crystalline. We got crystals again, y'all. Quelle surprise. But there is color there, but it's fading. And also like the memory fades in the movie. Don't forget the movie, because the pretext for this entire collection is the movie. And we have Delphine standing there. Now we have Delphine laying there. Virginie Viage, she's like, hey y'all, Butch Queen coming. You gotta love her. And she's wearing the t-shirt from her cruise collection from last year. So she doesn't even care if she's wearing a piece from a year ago. And I love that about her, actually, that she's like, you know what? I don't have to wear the newest thing. You know, I can also wear something from last season or just a sample. Okay, what do you guys think? So Vomitella says all looks are nice. Coco says, I really like it. Julie says, that dress is great. Kev says, I love how Dacob's adding color to the collection. Without him, this looks like Maria Grazia Cutie for Chanel. Kev, you're throwing so much shade at me. You're saying like I'm being biased. I mean, you know I'm not being biased, because when it comes to Chanel, I'm very strict. I love Chanel, but when they do wrong by me, I'm like, ah. Or in my opinion, I always say it. Tiny Dear Potato says, I think it was a beautiful collection. Trina says, I thought it was a nice showing. Oshidi says, I like the music. Oh, thank you. That was, that has nothing to do with them. I chose the music because that was copyright free. Carmelita says, I just love tweed, the pastels, gold, silver, and raspberry pinks, blacks and whites. Loved this runway. I loved it too. Like, really loved it. Like, it's dreamy in the right way. I like that Virginie respected the movie. What does this mean? You don't touch Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel made a masterpiece. Those outfits for the movie are amazing. When they announced last year in Marienbad is the inspiration for the collection, I thought, ooh, this could go real bad because she might go for the, let me redo the costumes from the movie. Let me do it, And I'm like, please don't do that. Like, don't touch the movie. And she was very respectful to the movie. She didn't touch the movie. She let the movie play out as it was. The beautiful scenes from the movie were playing all around you. Everywhere you look, you have these ginormous visuals of Delphine and all the other characters, or the other actors, because the actors don't have character names in the movie. And you just have that. And the whole movie is about fading memory. So, in short, the movie is about this woman that, in this very luxurious Marienbad getaway at a cocktail event, meets this guy, and the guy says, I'm back. You promised, if we meet each other, long story short, if we meet each other again 1 year, we met last year, and you said if you come back this year, then you would have abandoned your life, husband, whatever, lover, anybody for me, and you would have decided to be with me. And she's like, but I don't remember you. I don't remember any of that. So you have these weird cuts starting to form, like edits that make you feel like, wait, hold on, wasn't she wearing something different just a second ago? Wasn't she on the left? Now she's on the right? And then space starts to morph. We're in the gardens of this place, and the people are standing, and they're casting a shadow to the left, but the bushes are casting the shadow to the right. So how can that be? That like shadow is cast into different directions. So they painted actually the shadows on, by the way, spoiler alert, to create that effect on the floor. So there's this like disorientation that's happening more and more and more as time progresses, and the memory fades. She doesn't remember him. He starts doubting whether or not this ever really happened. Is it all just a dream? I'm not going to spoil the end. You should watch the movie. It's amazing. And so Virginie Viard, I think, played very well on this notion of disorientation. Well, where are we? Are we watching a Chanel collection from the 20s? Is it a Chanel collection from the 80s? Just the fact that it's so eclectic and a mix of all of these different times makes it very 80s, because the 80s were famous for mixing up all of these different times together. So 80s style is eclectic, but she kept it somber and sober. So we have these fading pastels, these fading colors. The colors are there, but mostly we have the impression of blacks and whites and some shimmer here and there. For the first time ever, she's actually using sequins in a good way, because sequins here give you the impression of reflecting, like blinding you for a second to make you disoriented, so you don't know anymore how much time has passed. Did you black out for a second? And it bounces off of each other very well, all of the pieces. It's not a groundbreaking collection, but here's the twist. All of these designers are trying to make something groundbreaking every time they do a show. She isn't. Groundbreaking? So who said I was trying to do something groundbreaking? She's very cerebral here. This collection is very cerebral and yet very, very comfortable and very practical for the human body. So Sin says, this collection is reeling us in. It definitely is. Suzy Q says, so much better than Balenciaga. Oh, it doesn't take much to be better than the Balenciaga Spring-Summer collection. Redflex says, I like the collection, but didn't know the background when I watched it first. Thank you again for the history. Oh, yeah. So you can definitely check out the book. I'm reviewing here. There's no real cover to review here because it's very, very simple, right? This is the French edition of it, but there is also a translation in English. And it is a ciné-roman. So there's an explanation of the movie, and then there's also pictures from the movie. Those I cannot show you, but you can watch the movie. And so basically the pictures of the movie are connected to the explanation. So this is really good to read in addition to watching the movie, because it gives you kind of a little bit more insight into the movie. So obviously, as you can see, I am a fan. I am obsessed with that movie. Jasmine says, this was probably my favorite Paris Fashion Week show. Oh, mine too. Your access to red carpets is better than Dior show, darling. Doesn't take much. Jasmine says, I'm a sucker for Chanel. High Priest of the Cult of Dacob. Love the name. I like the splash of pink with the heavy monochromatic tones. Super Filthy says, love the long raspberry pink look so much. Gustavo says, luxurious without trying to be amazing. That's the point. Virginie is not trying too hard. She's really starting to master that effortless flow, which is really hard to master. It really is. And that effortless flow is something Chanel mastered herself. Rachel says, what is the name of the movie again? Last year at Marienbad. So in French, this is the name of the movie. L'année dernière à Marienbad. So you would have to look it up, you know what I mean, on Amazon or somewhere, and Blu-ray, DVD, or I'm sure there's also like stream on demand or something like that. Thank you, Tiny Dirt Potato, for spelling it out. Yeah, last year at Marienbad. That's the name of the movie. So this movie is the backdrop to the entire collection and the inspiration for the entire show. Now, what I didn't show you here is the opening sequence of the fashion show is Kristen Stewart being all actressy, which, you know, please, Kristen, just go do Twilight and stay there, because you're good at that. You're not good at Chanel. But however, for the first time ever, she has good makeup for Chanel standards. The hair is finally better than what they always do with her. She looked actually cute with the pixie hair and the makeup, but then she started acting. And when she started acting, I'm like, oh girl, here we go. But by the way, Chanel cut it out. This video is taken one-to-one from the Chanel website, from Chanel's YouTube channel. So they just showed her for a second, zoomed in her face, and then cut into the show. But in reality, there's a whole pre-show, like 3 minutes long, of her walking through Paris, talking about the essence of like how to be yourself is to be able to forget yourself, reimagine yourself anew every day. So she's kind of referencing last year at Marienbad as well, by saying who you are today doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's what you were yesterday. And if you can really grow as an artist if you keep changing and allowing yourself to change and all that good stuff. Anyway, I prefer to hear that said in the movie rather than by Kristen Stewart, but whatever. She's the ambassador of the brand. God knows why. Moving on. So if we cut her out of the equation, the collection itself speaks volumes. They didn't need her to tell us anything. They really didn't. The collection is strong enough to speak on its own. It is timeless. Some people are going to say it's boring. I say it's timeless. There was some real moron on social media, and I've been sent the DM screenshot of it. Somebody in some group chats about fashion and Chanel was saying, and that somebody might be watching me, but girl, let me call you out if I got to call you out. So somebody was saying, oh, this was terrible. This is like, where are the Chanel shows where they have these huge sets built up? Talk about sustainability, girl. Like, you know, like Carl used to do, these huge sets built up and beautiful skinny models. This person had the audacity to say, how dare they put like 3, as this person called them, chunky models on the runway. It makes Chanel look so ugly. And this was a woman saying like the models were terrible, the collection is so boring, all just black and white, so cheap, just visual backdrops, like no money went into this. I was like, well, thank God this person also got retaliation. People were like commenting back and saying, oh my God, you know, like we thought you were open-minded, this and that. And then like you're a woman criticizing other women for being themselves, for having these gorgeous, healthy shapes. What gives? I'm telling you, fascinating to note, since I've been researching about this collection, that there are extreme opposites. Isn't that fascinating that something that apparently so simple and blasé, well, you know, mostly black and white collection, can instigate such visceral reactions of opposite kinds? You know, like either super favorable or, oh, I hate it with all my guts. Isn't that fascinating that something so effortless and flowy can trigger such opposite reaction. I find that super fascinating. And I wonder why. Vomitella says, sometimes women are the worst at putting women down. Debbie says, chunky. Well, listen, not my words. To me, they look fabulously healthy and sexually curvaceous. Because, you know, healthily curvaceous. But some people are having an issue with this. And I'm like, still better than just one healthy looking model, which if it's just one, you call it the token model. But now they got 3 in this. So it's already progress. Now they have 3 token models. Let's hope it's more and more in the future. They just got to learn how to style them better. That I got to say. Kev says, I wonder if Virginie sketches at all. I don't know. Steven says, it kind of looks like a Métier d'Art collection because it was a dark atmosphere. It does have those vibes, but it also has a simplicity to it. I can see how it's reminiscent of Métier d'Art, especially because, I mean, last year at Marienbad is well, it's haute couture actually. Last year at Marienbad, but this one does have that flavor, even though when it comes to, it's reduced when it comes to certain aesthetical directions where they're not probably utilizing all of their ateliers to create something. You know, for Métier d'Art, they would be using all the ateliers to do something special for each atelier. But if you look really into the details of this collection, what I noticed are some whimsical pieces that are hiding between, you know, hidden in between this reverence. Like, for example, if you saw, there was a close-up of a little teeny tiny star, like metal wire star bag that one of the models wore. That's kind of a novelty piece. Then there are also, another novelty piece was also something Chanel has done before, but in different colorways, is a makeup palette, like very similar to this little makeup pouch here, except what you get, it's open, and inside is a quad, like eye quad, like the 4 eyeshadows in shades of white, pink, pearl, and then there's a all in resin, and then there's that little kind of eye dab next to it, and that is kind of a necklace. It's a necklace, it's on cuffs, and there's a miniature version of a bag as well on a chain, so it hangs on the side. It's another little whimsical piece that you only see if you really start zooming in and discovering the details of the collection. So they are placing, of course, the double C brooch is there. They have a lot of crystals this year. So what does this mean? This means that if you're not a fan of big chunky crystals, Now, to me, when costume jewelry, I say if you're going to use crystals, make them big. So I did see one particular brooch that I'm going to definitely try to pre-order. Another one of those Chanel Maltese crosses that I love so much, or Byzantine cross. Very crystal heavy, but I'm going to need to ask my sales associate to send me close-up pictures just to assess how big the crystal. If they're big enough, that brooch is kind of calling my name. Trisha says, please remember to not bash skinny people too. Some people are genetically skinny looking too. Nobody's bashing skinny people. Red Frag says, sometimes I think Chanel styles the big girls poorly on purpose. Those women would have looked stunning in any of the skirts or long flowing dresses. It's a good point, because I also envision them in some of the other pieces on the runway, and I think to myself, oh my gosh, if they wore that piece, that would have looked so stunning on them. Like really, really good. Don Donahue says, Chanel, still and always the best house. I agree. I mean, when it comes to just the flow of remaining true to their standard of aesthetic. Now, quality different. We've had issue with their leathers lately, right? But you know it's a Chanel show. This show was Chanel done by Virginie Viard. Okay? When we watch Dior by Maria Grazia Chiuri, what do we actually see? We see Maria Grazia Chiuri putting a Dior label on her stuff. Very different. When we watch Balenciaga, we see Demna Gvasalia, or Gvasalia, I never know how to pronounce his surname. We see Demna doing Demna, but putting a Balenciaga logo on what he does. Virginie's different. She respects Coco Chanel. Virginie does Coco Chanel. Virginie does Coco Chanel and doesn't make it about her. She doesn't like to do interviews. She doesn't like to be present everywhere. She's very respectful to Coco Chanel. And she delivers that heritage. It's like it almost feels like she pledged an oath. She worked 30 years under Karl Lagerfeld, right? When he passed away, it's almost as if she pledged an oath to Coco to remain true to Coco after Karl was gone. And she's really remaining true to that. With every collection that passes, she becomes more effortless. The collections become simpler and more streamlined, but they get closer and closer to the core of what Coco Chanel was. And I find that very fascinating. And the fact that the Wertheimers are letting her do it, very fascinating. Trisha says all body types look beautiful in their own way. Agreed. Yes, that's why Chanel should show all of them and not just mainly one type. Bottom line. What are we talking about here? 75 looks, of which 72 are skinny models and 3 are healthy? So, every body shape should be celebrated, but then do it. Don't do tokenism, because that doesn't fly with me. So, Comelita says, yes, we are all beautiful. I absolutely agree. Red Frack says, I like her shows more and more with each season. Me too. There's something so simple about them. It's effortless. But effortless done well. Because what else can be effortless? Just do hoodies and shorts. It's effortless. Everybody chills at home, with a hoodie. Yeah, but that's lazy because you didn't make an effort to actually design variation there. But what is really difficult to do is designing effortless while making it different, subtly different. Don't forget, Virginie Viard comes from costume making, from theater, from film. So for her to tackle the idea of last year in Marienbad, but from this new perspective of 2023, but of a woman as herself that has been working for this house for over 30 years, who has the knowledge of their archives, of everything that's been done by Coco Chanel, by Karl Lagerfeld, by Guy Bourget, and somewhere in between as well, and how all of that works together time-wise. It's like Virginie Viard went on a stroll through time, just like they did in the movie, and assembled this kind of timeless piece of a collection where every piece flows into each other. It's almost like you have to look at the collection as one piece, not as individual pieces, to get a feeling of the flow of time. Really, really beautiful. I mean, it takes a lot of absence of ego to be able to pull something like this off. And Virginie did it. I really respect her for that. She took away her ego and went for structure and concept while remaining respectful to the movie, because she didn't try to do it better than the movie did, right? Remaining very respectful to Coco, because she didn't try to overshadow Coco's style by saying, hey, I'm Virginie Viard, and I'm going to overshadow, which is something Karl Lagerfeld, with all due respect, often did. Karl often utilized Chanel's codes to make his stuff. Virginie doesn't do that. Virginie utilizes Coco's codes to enhance Coco. Karl would use Coco's codes, the camellia, the chain, the tweed, the particular shoulder, the chromatics, the black and the white and the beige. All of those codes would be utilized often to say it's a Karl Lagerfeld piece for Chanel. Virginie does Chanel for Chanel. It's really hard to do for a creative person to take their ego out of the equation as much as possible and to stick to the DNA of the brand. And Virginie's doing it. Just saying. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know I can blabber on about this for ages, but when a collection hits the right chord, I get all giddy and excited about it, Now, imagine if I had this huge budget a couple $100,000 to like spend on this collection, I would definitely pre-order several pieces. But we got a budget, so we're gonna have to figure stuff out. You know, the key piece, element piece that kind of shines. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. My sales associate is on holiday, so as soon as she's back, we're gonna sit together and figure this one out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you've watched thus far, drop an emoji down below. What emoji should it be? Ooh, a black heart and a white heart. Black and white next to each other. Perfection. Black heart and white heart in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe. Never give up on love.